going to do my Darkest Minds book chat as promised. So I usually don't do book talks on this channel because I more talk about books rather than giving a chat in general, but I figured I'd do something different, and I love this book so much that I had to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about the book The Darkest Minds. I'm going to give you the non-spoiler version, and then I'm going to tell you guys to go bye-bye because I don't want to spoil anybody. This book is basically about this girl named Ruby who grew up in Salem, Virginia, and she has this disease. It's called the INN disease. It kills like young kids, and for some reason Ruby survived it, and she has to go to this camp where she meets these kids just like her, and it turns out she has this ability, and she meets these kids along the way, and then they go to this place also escaping the PSFs and the PS, and really what the book is about, and it's really, really good. I heard Exceed may talk about it, and Kat, and everybody in the BookTube community loves this book, and I just had to read it for myself. So that's the non-spoiler version. People who didn't read the book, goodbye! Goodbye! Now, onto the book. I also took some notes so we can go by those. Alright, I like how the prologue starts off with Ruby's talking about the camp, and she's at Thurmond, and she's trying to talk about, like, this is probably like what happens before, because I thought she was going to a camp for some reason, but I got a little confused. So I started reading it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So basically opens up with the camp and what's happening and what they do and how the camp works. It kind of gives you an idea of what the book is going to be about. And I knew from when I knew when I read the first page, I knew it was going to be a good book. And yeah, so I liked the prologue, and I mean, after the prologue, it got so much better, and I could not put this book down. Like, every time I wanted to, had to go to bed, I got mad. I got upset because I didn't want to read. And then we get an idea of the disease, and the disease is called the INN, which is Idiopathic Adolescent Acute Neurogenic, I can't really pronounce it, but it's INN, and we first see it with Ruby's friend Grace, where they're in the cafeteria, she's had to be like a couple days before her 10th birthday, and this girl Grace starts standing up, and she's like saying something, and then suddenly she falls back, and her eyes fall on the back of her head, and she's like suddenly dead beyond impact. And I thought that was really cool, but killing kids, like, that was interesting to read, because usually in these books I really don't read killing kids, you know. I thought it was a little morbid, but it was still really good to read because the book got better as Ruby got older, and we went through this time in her life to it, and she knows what's coming and stuff. So yeah, that's basically like, basically the symptoms are, now I'll read the symptoms. The symptoms are, your child suddenly becomes swollen, withdrawn, and or less interested in activities and previously enjoyed. She begins to have abnormal difficulty in concentrating or suddenly becomes hyper-focused, resulting in losing track and time of herself or others. She experiences hallucinations, vomiting, chronic migraines, memory loss, and or fainting spells. She becomes prone to violent outbursts, usually reckless behavior or self-injury. And she develops behaviors and abilities, an example, inexplicable dangers and cause of your other physical harm. If your children demonstrates any of these above symptoms, register him or her for INN.gov and wait to be contact local hospital to which he or she should be taken. So those are basically the symptoms. And I thought it was kind of weird, but when I read that, I was like, this is like, the disease is, it must be big, because if they're giving out pamphlets to these parents, and the fact that they gave it to her and the parents didn't tell her about the disease. I don't even know if her parents knew that she had the ability beforehand, or she figured it out herself and she just got taken away, which I don't understand. Actually, we do understand it, because if you notice far off into the book, we get more grasp of what happens with the dream. Like, she had a dream about her parents, like a memory about her parents. She erased her parents' memory, and that's how she gets dragged off to Thurmond. I thought it was just, I thought her parents had sent her, because we don't really find out about this till like the middle of the book, so we're a little confused, but we get more information as we go further into the book. So I found that interesting because it made you want to like read. The chapters ended in suspense, and I needed to read more and more. And I started reading 2 chapters at a time. Then I went to 1 because I got busy, and then I finished the book. And I was in such a reading slump. So, all right, I like the part of the book where, like, so they're working in the camps and they have to like shine the shoes for for the PSFs, and like she's doing it wrong, and like the PSF's like wrong, and up and then she stands up for Ruby, and then they take Sam off God knows where, but we don't know what happens to her, and she makes no eye contact with Ruby, which I found weird. And then I was confused a little bit at that part, but it turns out that I think Ruby erased Sam's memory, I don't know how, but you guys we can discuss this in the comments, but I think that's why she acted so weird, but I don't know how she did it, because I'm still not clear on that, but she came back, and I thought something really bad happened to her, like the PSFs did something, and she got emotionally scarred for life, or something like that, but I guess it was just Ruby, or maybe the way they did treat her in some way, because we're only in Ruby's head, so we don't know what goes on, so we're just as confused as she is on the other side of things. So, I found that interesting. Middle of chapter 3, like, there's this lady that comes up to her, and she asks her questions, and she's like, who are you, and stuff, and then she doesn't talk for a while, and then it turns out, her name is Dr., I can't really pronounce her name, Bebeji, I think, and her name's Kate, and she is helping Ruby, and it turns out she's with the League, and then she's going to help her get out, and then at first she's asking her questions like, do you know how she got there? It turns out she got to the infirmary because of Ruby's an orange, I guess it's more susceptible to her ears, and it hurts her more, so, I like that, and she ended up in the infirmary because of that. And then Kate's trying to help her, and then she's going to help her escape, and then there's this kid next to her who's also in the infirmary for some reason. His name is Martin. We'll find out more because he is, like, creepy. Because around the book, like, Kate takes Ruby and Martin away, and then he's, like, giving her mind games in the back of the car, and he's, like, getting into her head, and I'm, like, so creeped out. It's insane. Basically, he was asking Ruby about what she does, and I don't know if he really had a crush on her, or he just liked her because of her ability, and he wanted to get in her head, and then he teaches her how to use her ability and get past the curtain, and he teaches her everything, and I thought he was really nice by doing that, but I don't know if he was just doing it to use her or what. But basically, towards the end, everything goes to hell, and and then like the PSFs come in, and then Clancy is like an evil asshole, and I got confused when the PSFs were coming in to like attack everybody, because like I didn't know if that was planned or they just happened to find them. I was a little bit confused at that. I read that and I was very confused, and I didn't know what that meant. But then and then like they tried to escape because of after the kiss with Clancy and which I actually ended up finding that a little bit. I got a little high there, and I kind of liked it, but, and then Liam and Ruby kissed, and everything changed, and I'm like, oh my god, and then they tried to escape, oh yeah, and then Zoo went off to Los Angeles, and then, I'm jumping around, and then Liam and Ruby kissed, and then they tried to escape, but then they caught them at the end, and I'm just like, oh my god, what the hell's wrong with these people? And then, Liam got beat up, and then he was on the ground, and then I like what Chubb said to Clancy at the end of the book, where he's like, I like it, like Chubb's like, let me tell you what I think about your effing rules. He said, his voice dropping in venom, then pushed past Liam. You sit up in your room and you pretend like you want what's best for everyone, but you don't know how you do any of the work yourself. I can't tell if you're just a spoiled little shit, or if you're just too worried about getting your pretty princess hands dirty, but it sucks. You are effing awful, and you are sure as hell don't have me fooled. The full force of Clancy's cold gaze fell on Chubbs, but he went on undaunted. You talk about all us being girls, like we're one big happy family, rainbow peace and all that bullshit, but you've never once believed that yourself, did you? You won't let anyone contact their parents, don't care about the kids who are still trapped in the camps that your father set up. You wouldn't even listen when kids brought up. So what I want to know is, why can't we leave? He took another step, cutting off Clancy before he could continue speaking. What is the point of this place other than you to get off and how great you are and toy with people and their feelings? I know what you did to Ruby. I like that big monologue with Clancy because I've enjoyed reading that, and the way he treated these people was not right. And so anyway, in the end, you know, they ended up trying to escape again, but then they got tracked down, and then they needed the League, and then Ruby used that panic button that Kate had given her earlier on in the book. She pressed it, she's like, oh my god, this was a mistake, but then it ended up saving Liam in the long run. And at the end, it got me. I was crying because, like, she was kissing Liam, and then she was using her ability to erase his mind, and I was crying my eyes out during that scene because I'm like, oh, now Liam doesn't remember her, and now she has to work for the League, and now he has, like, she's sacrificing him because she doesn't want him to deal with whatever she's going through, and I guess in a way it's better for both of them. But now what are we going to do in the second book? Like, what's going to happen between Liam? Is he going to come back? And do we know if Chubbs is going to live after Jack's Field's father shot him? And oh my god. And this book just, like, what's going to happen in the second book? Are we going to see more of Clancy? Are we going to see more? I mean, we're going to see more of Ruby. I guess she's with the League now. And then I guess we're going to see Zoo again and everybody. I'd like to see more President Gray. And I'd like to see more Clancy because, again, I like Clancy for some odd reason. But, I mean, I didn't read the second book yet. And I know this is a late review because the book came out 2 years ago. But I had to talk about it. And it's such a good, got it for Christmas. But I cannot get enough of this book. It was so good. I really enjoyed this book, and I was literally tearing through the pages. Not literally, my book has remained intact, but I was going through the pages like anything, and I could not put the book down. Every time I wanted to, I got upset, and I had to go to sleep. I'm like, no. So the book was good. I really liked it. I'm looking forward to reading Never Fade. I will do a review on Never Fade too. Like, this is like the best book I've ever read besides The Hunger Games and Divergent, because it kicks a really good book for me to read, and this was one of them, and this is like the best series I've ever started reading, and I love it, and it's a phenomenal book, and I really had a good time with it. So guys, if you read the book, tell me what you guys think in the comments. We'll talk about it. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter for book updates and for my book. My Twitter is @LettyFan93 and my Instagram is @DivergentFan93. You can follow me on Instagram for updates when I'm going to film more videos, what I'm reading currently. Sometimes I post what I'm going to read. So that's it. So I will see you guys later. Bye!